Okay, alright. Hi, hello. So imagine you are planning a trip to Sweden and you've got everything mapped out in terms of flights and everything and what you want to do here. You're going to Stockholm and you're going to fondle as many Swedes as consent allows. But then you start to wonder if you can afford all this. Goodness, you've heard that Sweden can be a bit expensive. Will your wallet be able to keep up? Or will it jump off a bridge as soon as someone mentions fika? Or will you be the king of, of Sweden while you're here? Let's find out. Guess, yeah. So traveling to Sweden on a budget is a bit like shoving an entire up your ass.
Oh yeah.
It requires a bit of planning and some margarine and an encouraging friend. And I will be your friend in this. Because in this video we will go through what you will most likely spend money on during your trip to Sweden, or Stockholm specifically, in terms of accommodation and travel and fun things to do. I will also go through some ways you can save money for all of these, because I think you're worth it. All of this in order to answer the question, how expensive is Sweden really? Okay, so the first thing. Once you land in Stockholm, you might want to get away from Arlanda airport, which is where you'll most likely end up. I mean, the airport itself is nice, I guess, but the rest of Stockholm does have a bit more to offer, I'd say. A one-way shuttle bus ticket is about 100 kronor, and the Arlanda express train, which is a bit faster and way more convenient, is about 300. Arlanda Express does give you a pretty big discount if you have not yet turned 26 though. If you have turned 26 like I have, you do get some free margarine, which is nice. Both of which will take you here to Stockholm Central Station. Yes indeed, where you'll want to pick up an SL-kort. Or Accesskort. Yeah. Accesskort is the new name, but people still call it SL-kort. Anyway, these give you full access to the bus, tram, tube, and local train systems. You can also use it to board quite a few boats that go between the different islands in Stockholm. You can get them in shops like these ones or in these machines, and the price varies depending on how long your stay is. 24 hours is 130, 3 days is 260, a week is 335, and 30 days is currently 890, though as all Stockholmers know, this bastard keeps getting more and more expensive. Satans jävla pojkpitt is the common expression used when that happens. There are bike rental places like these ones all over the city as well, and you know, exploring Stockholm on a bike is a wonderful thing. These bikes are real shit though. It can be worth picking up a 3-day card for 165 to get access to these different stops though. E-scooters are a thing in Stockholm as well, as in every major city it's around the world now it seems. And they are really cheap if you're only going a short distance. I think you can rent one for 10 kronor, and then for every minute you spend it's an extra 3. So if you're only going a very short distance you can hire one of these ones. I'd go for a bike though, because it's just a nicer, more chill way of doing things. Stockholm really is a bike-friendly city, and I'll have an entire video dedicated to that coming up as well. Goodness. Now that you are in Stockholm with your SL-kort, the city is your lobster. You can now go pretty much anywhere without having to worry about individual tickets and stuff. Highly recommended. This will reduce stress, lower your blood pressure, and make you perform better in bed. Yeah, or I sänghalmen, as we have to say here. But good lord, we haven't even mentioned accommodation yet. As you can imagine, there's the full range from fancy hotels to less boisterous lodgings. Ta-da! One quick look on Airbnb, for instance, and you'll be able to find a fairly central apartment for anything between 350 and 1,500 kronor per night. So yes, I'll leave that to you how much you want to spend. How gracious of me. One way you can save money on accommodation is to crowdsource. You can crowdsource your vacation, Jesus. Is to couch surf, is what I wanted to say. If you're a bit on the wild side, you know. I've never done it myself, but I have heard of people. I have friends who've couch surfed in Stockholm, and only a few of them got murdered, you know. Thanks to allemansrätten, you're also allowed to camp pretty much anywhere in Sweden, in a forest of your choosing, yes. As long as you don't litter. You are also very allowed to bee camp pretty much anywhere in Sweden, which is nice. Although I take it you're not in Sweden just to ride the tube and sit in an apartment all day, even though that's mostly what I do, to be fair. What if you want to go out and actually do stuff? There are a bunch of free museums all over Stockholm. This is not one of them. If you want to visit the most popular one in Sweden, which is Ta-da! Vasamuseet, you do need to pay 150 to get in, unless you're under 18, in which case it's free, I think. I really have no idea why this is the most popular museum in Sweden. It's just a fucking boat that sunk, and I prefer boats that don't sink, I guess. Okay, moving on. Alright, so yes, we're on to food now. Jesus. Famished after your recent escapades of admiring the finer details of a shipwreck, you might want to shove some Swedish food up your ass. Even though we are a very socialist society here, there are quite a few restaurants to choose from, believe it or not. When eating out in Sweden, you can expect to pay anything between 150 and about 300 for a main course and a drink. Depending on where you go, of course. You don't have to tip too much. Tipping in Sweden is strange. No one really knows how or what to do. Swedish people don't, so just do whatever you feel like, I guess. And make sure that when you pay, you make it as convoluted and awkward as possible in terms of who should pay for what, because that's the Swedish way. Awkward and convoluted is a good description of, you know, social interactions in Sweden in general. Ooh, and I think, here's a little tip from me to you. I think my favorite restaurant in all of Stockholm is Herman's, which is a vegan buffet place with really good food and with a view that is just ridiculous. It's so nice. Take your beautiful Swedish dates here and they will fondle you in any crevice of your choosing, you know. I am making a dating in Sweden video, by the way. So I mean, if you haven't subscribed yet, I mean, what are you doing? Alright, so speaking of dating, we are now heading to the most important part of any trip. How much should you expect to pay during a night out in Stockholm? Well, a glass of wine or a normal beer is usually around 50. If you want the cheapest beer on tap, you can just order a stor stark, which means a large and strong one. And you just order it like that as well. Nej men fan, jag tar en stor starkis. Oh, if you are insecure about the size of your penis, that's the drink for you. If I ever own my own pub, by the way, I think I'm gonna offer the opposite, so liten och klen. I'll have a small and wimpy one, please. Around 50 for a drink is usually the cheapest you'll get. A nice IPA can start at 70. Cocktails are usually around 100. Shots, I don't actually know how much a shot is. I'm one of those awkward friends who just cheer whenever someone brings a tray of them, you know. Depending on what you drink, between 50 and 100, I'd say. One more thing about alcohol, by the way. You can't buy alcohol in shops in Sweden. You have to go to the bank. No, if you want to grab a beer and sit in a park and drink somewhere, you have to go to Systembolaget. Yeah, which is a state-owned thing, which is not open on Sundays and hardly on Saturdays either. That's worth keeping in mind, definitely. I just saved many of your vacations there. You're welcome. Okay, so to round this little guide off, let's finish off with a quick fire round, yes, of useful items and how much they cost. Let's go. A bottle of Coke, 20. Cup of coffee to go, 45-ish. Condoms, 45. Authentic Swedish hats, 110. A hired assassin, 45. A paperback book, about 90. An adapter, 150. A dildo, 250. Dalahäst, 3,855 fucking thousand. A Blue Planet box set, 600. Some more condoms, 46. Toothbrush, 25. A full-on evening with a blonde man, 100 kronor. Okay, so that's the conclusion. It's a bit expensive here, I suppose. What a marvelous conclusion. So I hope this was helpful to some of you. There are a bunch of similar videos to this one up on the channel if you want to check them out. So if you're looking for accommodation or a job here, I've got videos on those. And lastly, I wish you a lovely trip to Sweden. Yay! And the last tip, I suppose, is try not to think too much about money in general while you're here. Just enjoy yourselves. So what was the point of this video?